Three, two, one. Welcome everyone to week 8, our final week of our 8 weeks to director training. And the topic is conveniently titled, And Now We Multiply. So we've learned lots about what it means to become a director, and we like to talk about how we can multiply our efforts now as leaders. So tonight's training team is Senior Coordinator Karen Beckley, Executive Coordinator Becky Choate, and myself, Senior Executive Coordinator Pam Carey. So we're happy to be here with you tonight. And just to quickly review where what our objectives are for this week as we prepare to multiply our efforts. First of all, we're going to talk about reviewing some key skills and steps to reach director that we covered over the past 8 weeks. So we're going to give you a little encapsulated version of where we've been for the past 7 weeks and where we are today, to determine what kind of director you are, to lay out the next goals to reach for after becoming a director. We got to keep our goals identified so we can continue to stretch ourselves and grow. We want to begin thinking like a leader and discover our leadership roles. That's quite a bit different than when we were in that working toward director mode. We want to determine our vision for our growing business, to review how to grow, to maximize the dream plan. That's always important. And we want to remind us all of how to stay connected with Shaklee peers and those within our Shaklee family. So just to review quickly, over the past 8 weeks, we've discussed fundamental skills needed to develop a Shaklee business. Beginning with the mechanics and the first steps of getting started was week 1. We talked about the mechanics of network marketing businesses and how we stay organized, how we set up our planner and our working folder and things like that, all those basics for getting started. In week 2, we talked about the role of social media in our businesses, and we had lots of do's and don'ts, and leaders like Katie Odom were with us to share all of her experience that she's had on social media. It was so helpful. Week 3 was how to invite without imposing. That's so important as we ask people to come and gather with us to our Shaklee events and our one-on-one meetings. Week 4 was how to close and offer options and next steps as we work to get people to become part of our Shaklee family through membership. In week 5, we talked about how good customer service and care leads to lifelong customers and business partners. So important to be following up and loving on our customers and giving them that good customer service that we're known for. Week 6 was how to identify our business partners. We love to have people join us in the business, and it helps us grow as we root down into our business and grow in depth. It's so important to have leaders below us so we can continue to grow our business and move up in rank. And then last week on week 7, we talked about some real great ways to how to create a 2,000 PGV plan for ourselves and for our downlines so we can stay as strong leaders and maintain our ranks. So that's where we've been, and now we're going to how to multiply, and it's a really exciting call, so I'm glad to be here with you ladies tonight. So take it away, Karen.
All right, so here you are, week 8, you did it, welcome. And
Yay.
We have talked about planning, PGV planning on week 7, that you are hopefully not only doing for yourself, but doing with your team. And that has got you here. You hit 2,000 or you're close. And so the question is, what kind of new director are you? For those of you who are close, think about this question, start to ponder it, because when you hit it and you get there, you can't stop there. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. So are you someone that just squeaked by with 2,000 or even 2001 PV this month? Or are you starting to see yourself at the first rung of the ladder, and that's taking you to higher ranks and building an organization? I think, we need to understand that when we are a new director, we're actually at the beginning. It's a jumping off point to the rest of our business and to our future. So some of us hit director and then we hit the brakes because we've arrived. Wrong. You have not arrived. You want to keep going. So next slide. Now that we're director, I'm sorry. Before I go to that, let's review those 4 quadrants of goal setting, because really we do want to drill this with each of you so that you can continue to build your team and help them be successful. This was something we covered in week 7, and it's just an approach I use with my own team, because I found that what comes natural or comfortable for us is oftentimes what we focus on, which makes most sense. However, we do have to focus on all areas of our business. So that is acquiring your new customers. How are you doing that? And you can see I just offer suggestions. This is not a complete list in any way. It's just to give you some ideas of ways that you can be acquiring new customers, such as, building your network, launching events, using the health print. And then your current customers are the ones you want to make sure they are feeling valued, they're feeling identified, they're hearing from you, and you are continually serving them. So, write those thank you cards, use gift fulfillment to show your appreciation, schedule three-way calls with them or a referral that they've brought your way. You want to continue to work on yourself. So personal development is key. What podcasts and books and trainings, maybe you've sought out a mentorship or a coaching circle that's going to help keep you accountable. These are key. This is often an area, it's kind of like as moms, and I know we have men on this call too, dads included. Sometimes we ignore ourselves when we're trying to care for our kids. And that's a perfect example of what not to do when it comes to parenting, but also with your business. You've got to make sure you're taking care of yourself so that you can be feeding into them. And that ties exactly into what we're going to talk about when it comes to leading people. You've got to have a set of skills in order to offer your team and lead them in the direction you want to go. And then the fourth area of the quadrant is sharing that business opportunity. Never forget to be doing that. Embed that into everything you do and say every single month with your goal setting.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Karen, too, because when I first started, that was an area, like you said at the beginning, I didn't feel comfortable with. And so I would do all the other three. Mm-hmm. And then I would forget, I wouldn't do the business one. And that's how your business can grow, exactly, is by sharing with other people. And so many people are looking for what we have to offer. Yep. And so it's really a gift for us to be able to share. So it's so good.
I remember in the beginning, somebody said to me, I made director. Good. Now I can check that off.
Right.
And like Karen said, we got to keep on growing. And then somebody said, oh, well, you didn't tell me I had to keep on sponsoring. I thought if I got this many people, then I was done with that. So this is always going. So it's great to have those things in the forefront of our mind. So good.
So, as Pam just said, we've got to keep going. Your next goal should not be 2002 PGV. You should be now working for 3,000. 3,000 is a very strategic number in the Shackley Dream Plan because with 3,000 PGV, it is going to set you up to earn New Directors Conference. The requirement to earn NDC is 18,000 PGV, which looks very overwhelming for a new director, but that's over a consecutive 6-month time span. So if you take 18,000 divided by 6 months, that averages to 3,000 a month. And what I love about that is you could end up at 2,500 one month, but 3,500 another month. And it's just the average of 3,000. So this is why this number needs to be locked in your head. It also sets you up for car payments because when you do promote to senior director, that 3,000 of yours plus the 2,000 of your newest director will give you that 5,000 OV that you need to earn that monthly car payment, as well as you become eligible for the fast track bonus if you do it within the appropriated amount of time. So keep going.
Yeah, I love that, Karen, because it's Shackley's done such a wonderful job of having multi-benefits. So like it's beneficial. Your paycheck is going to be higher if you are increasing your PV. Now you're able to qualify for this New Directors Conference, which is completely paid for, airfare, hotel, everything, and you get to see the headquarters out in Pleasanton, California. And then, like you said, then to be able to open it up at a car payment. And if I'm not mistaken, Shackley is one of the companies that offers at one of the lowest levels for such a reward like that of a car.
Yep, that's correct.
Such a wonderful just like perk after perk after perk for just really doing what we want to do anyway, which is build our business.
And for many of us, that's where we bring our husbands on that trip.
Yep,
right?
That's true. That's true.
And a lot of times our husbands have sort of what we've been doing, and there's Shackley secret agenting during the day. So they are welcomed into the at the home office on that trip, and it's just a game changer for the guys for sure. So get on that trip.
Yeah. So what I think it's important to understand too is that you really should never feel like you've arrived. John Maxwell teaches this all the time. He's the leadership guru that I read all his books. I really adore John Maxwell, and you'll hear a lot of quotes from him in tonight's talk. But you don't want to ever feel like you've arrived. If you feel like you are done and you've arrived, you're actually not leading because a leader is always going somewhere. So I love the idea of hit that 2000 and pause and celebrate, because there is a lot to celebrate right there. You accomplished a huge achievement, but don't stop. Keep going. And what I love about our dream plan is the way it's spelled out, it's so organic and it really fosters and encourages growth. So keep it moving. So with that, you want to start to build what we call depth. And this is where you will begin to have legs. So if you think about your uplines, you can probably see a better picture of that because you're just starting out. And we'll show you some examples of this as well. But what you want to do is start to duplicate yourself. And so you want to start to build directors on your team. So you're going to be able to achieve PGV levels by doing the same thing you've been doing up until this point. That probably won't be tough for you as a director. But if you want to advance in rank, you actually have to develop an organization, because the next rank is senior director. And to hit senior director, your PGV needs to increase, but you also have to have a director on your leg. And that's going to require additional skills and actions. And this is where I've seen a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but commonly people have a hard time shifting into this role, because to get to director, it was a lot about customer service and about your own business. But as soon as you hit director and you now have a team and you're starting to build depth and an organization, you now have to wear two hats. You need to keep doing what you were doing, customer care and building, your customer base, but you've also got to be, equipping and empowering and teaching and encouraging those that are on your team to do the exact same thing. And it just requires a different hat for you to wear. And so we're going to touch on that tonight. But if I can't say it enough, start to really invest in yourself as a leader. Seek resources that are going to help you and educate you in that. And every time you've achieved a goal, you want to make sure you create the next goal. Again, pause and celebrate, but then go ahead and create that next goal. We never want to get stuck in a comfort zone. We have a really good quote, Becky, I think, that goes with that.
And we know we're growing if we are out of our comfort zone. And that is so tricky for us as humans, because we always gravitate back to what feels comfortable. I mean, you think about it in any area of your life. There's so many things that we just kind of, I'm going to do, this is what really feels good, whatever. But we really are growing. We're stretching ourselves when we feel a little bit uncomfortable. And you think about even a rubber band, it always wants to go back to its original shape. Well, our minds are kind of like that. And sometimes our actions, because our minds are like that, our actions can be like that. And so finding ways to be able to stretch, and we're going to give you some ideas too of how to do that, because a leader may be a totally new role for you. Maybe you've never had a position where you needed to be a leader. And so we want to talk you through that so it doesn't seem so scary, but also so you can incorporate it into your daily routine.
So if we go back and focus on that goal setting for a minute that we were talking about earlier, you need to start asking yourself some questions. And one of those questions is, what do I want to do now? And that question is not, again, not just for you, but now it's for your team. So how big can I see it? And I think, some people would say, I don't know if I can say master coordinator at this point. And I would say that's okay. You're going to find that these will change and evolve with your business. But I would also challenge you to think bigger than you think you can go, because you're going to be surprised at what you can accomplish as long as you continue to move forward. Start to ask yourself, what's my vision of the leader I want to become? This is where I talk about my team culture. Like, what kind of culture do I want to create amongst my teammates? And start thinking and planning for that now, because that is really what you're going to attract. I personally take on, I'm always very humbled by servant leaders in my life and experience, and that's something I strive for. I have a long way to go, but it's something that I'm always striving for, because I truly believe that if I'm serving my team, I'm modeling a type of leadership that I would love to see them do with their downlines. And now all of a sudden it's duplicatable and it's creating a culture that aligns with my values. Are you wanting to make leaders, or are you wanting to be the boss? Those are two very different things. And some people do want to be the boss. And again, it's your business, it's your choice. But those are often mistakes we make as we start, is we don't think through, it's almost like a fork in the road. What do I need to do? How do I need to think? What does my organization need to look like in order for my downlines to feel like I am pouring into them as a leader? Maybe this is a new identity for you, as Becky mentioned. Maybe some of you have leadership experience in other areas. This was me. I even have a master's degree in leadership, you guys, and this threw me for a loop because I had never been a leader in a business capacity. So this was like starting in kindergarten for me, but I was teachable, and I'm still teachable, and I will always be teachable. And as long as I have that posture, I know that that's going to equate to growth. Coaching is really important too. You have probably felt the power of someone in Shaklee who has encouraged you and coached you along and given you that guidance. What do I want to learn next? Start asking yourself that question as well. As I mentioned, you don't want to feel like you've arrived. And this is, again, going to be the teacher in me. But I feel like in order for your downlines to be successful, you cannot just approach it as, well, they're just going to hit director because they're going to, acquire customers. You actually have to teach them. I know, go figure, right? But you are now their teacher. And so you've got to start thinking through, okay, what is it that I had to learn and go through and experience? And while not all of our journeys are exactly the same, if you can start to think about that and compile it, you're going to be a much better resource to your teammates than if you just expect them to figure it out on their own. And self-talk is key. You want to make sure that you are always tapping into, positive affirmations. I know Becky's going to speak to this, but I can tell you that if you have negative self-talk, those are self-defeating behaviors that will come, to fruition.
Yeah. And I self-sabotage all the time, like in all different areas. I mean, I really did. And I didn't even know I was doing it. But even me saying to somebody, well, I'm not really a math person. I don't say that anymore. I say, I'm going to figure this out, and just like what you said, Karen, about being teachable, like I'm learning new things every single day. And this piece of self-talk will probably be something that I will always be working on. Like I've gotten a lot better, but there's always areas within it that I can continue to improve. And so when you ask that question, do I believe I can build an organization? That was a question that Barb Lagoni asked me 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And this is what I told her. I said, I love what I get to do. I said, I think so many people would be attracted to this, but I don't think that I can lead them. And at that time, I was coming from about a 15-year stint of being director, senior director, director, senior director, director 4 times. And just different life circumstances of people that were still within my customer base, but didn't want to be a leader in our organization. And I thought, you know what, I must not have the skills to be able to lead them. And Barb asked me, do you want to learn the skills? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll try to learn it. But it was all of this self-talk, and I had to do a ton of things of what we're going to talk about tonight. I had to read so many books. I had to constantly have something in front of me because I didn't believe it. I didn't believe I could do it. So it's so good. I'm so glad we're talking about these things.
Mm-hmm. So Joel Barker talks about the role of the leader, and really you can break it down into 4 simple steps. So the first one is set the vision, and we've already addressed that if you don't have a vision, you aren't going to be able to set that for your team. So it is something you've got to take some time thinking about, journaling about, even talking about with teammates or your upline even, and think about where you're headed. And as I mentioned, it could just be a shorter goal right now for you. It doesn't have to be long range at this point, but have some type of direction. And then you want to make sure you enroll others into that vision and assemble a team, because otherwise it's just you headed there. And as you know, you can't become a senior director if it's just you. So you've got to start enroll them into that. And then here's the teaching piece. Start to empower them. So don't just pull them along with you. That is not a leader. A leader is someone who motivates and inspires and empowers their teammates to want to join them in this cause, in this greater vision. And then once I love this picture because I have the visual of a boat out on sea, right? Then you want to start to create and sustain that momentum. You're going to hit a lot of waves. You're going to hit a lot of crashing waves, and water may even start to come into the boat, right? But as a team, if you have empowered them and equipped them and everyone knows the course and the vision, they're all going to be on the same page when it comes to sailing those rough seas. And there are calmer waters ahead too, which are really fun to sail on. So,
right.
So John Maxwell, another quote, the leader continually passes on the vision to those who come around, knowing that dreams, if presented right, are contagious. So what are you spreading? What is your team receiving from you? Because that needs to be intentional.
Absolutely. And here's just a little bit about the three of us, what we are seeing. Pam, why don't you talk about your picture there of your team?
Okay, my team has grown quite a bit over the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say. And just this is a segment of them wearing green at our Shackley Global Conference in Atlanta. It's a great idea to come to the Global Conference every year. I just want to make a side plug for that. It's the single most important thing you can do in growing and moving your business forward. So we always want to be saving our money toward those expenses there at Global so we can make it happen for ourselves and for our team as well. So, but my team is a variety of ages, and some of us in our 30s and 20s even, and some of all up to our 50s. And I like the dynamic of my team because we're all focused on living our best life and we're always helping each other. And I was talking to Becky earlier today, and I'm a big advocate of having always have a few people in your life that are about a half a generation older than you, not a full generation, so they don't really parent you, but about a half a generation, so that they can be your guide and you can see what's coming about 12 to 15 years down the road. So that has been my joy in my team of helping lead them along, and just love them so much. And I just love to help them have their best life, or whatever it is. And all those people in those pictures have different goals and different, and together we're all getting it done. So it's just something I'm super duper proud of. So that's my
it's
team.
beautiful. And I have just a portion of my team in the corner there, and mine is at convention as well, because so many of us live in different states, and so that's one of the times that we can get pictures together is when we're at convention. And I would say that I've been doing Shackley now for 20 years, and originally it was more of a group of moms, but now that I'm in my 50s too, Pam, now I have kids that are young adults, and so they're interested in the business. And so we actually have, between our leaders, we have about 5 of our adult kids that are interested in the business and are working towards levels. And so we're kind of we're evolving into moms and millennials, and we're looking at, we have moms in our group all the way from young moms up to where I'm at, and we have people that maybe just are joining us that are empty nesters, and it's a wonderful way for them to be able to have this beautiful business to pour emotional energy into now that our kids are grown. And so that's kind of a peek at my team. And then here's Karen's.
I think that's got to be so cool to work with your own kids, your adult kids, and that's amazing. I love that dynamic. And I'm laughing because mine's from Global Conference as well. But
the difference is yours is with Heather Chastain, our president.
That's right.
So there you go, Karen.
The ultimate coach, right? So yeah, so these are some of my key leaders at our most recent global conference in Vegas. Just a snapshot of my team as well. And I started to think about, for my vision of my team, I don't really have a demographic per se, but my vision is really to empower the people on my team to become business owners and to really take control of their lives. And for me, that was such a powerful piece of my story, was being able to eventually retire early from teaching after 19 years, and to find this was something that was never on my radar. And so when I look at each of these women, and there's my husband too, but also think about the rest of my team and how Shackley has impacted their lives, even from the newest person on the team to those that have been around for a few years, that is what motivates me. It really is no longer about me anymore. It was in the beginning. This is now about my team, my family. And so I actually asked to put this quote up here because, again, it's another ship analogy, but if you want to build a ship, don't drum up the men to gather wood, divide the work, and give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea. And that's really where my heart is. I don't want to bark orders. I don't want to even delegate tasks. I want my team to see that vision, take it upon themselves, initiate and take ownership of their own businesses, because it is their business, not mine.
It's such a beautiful picture, Karen.
Oh,
Go ahead,
thanks.
That's the process that we're talking about
Mm,
tonight, is shifting your thinking from driving to that 2000 PV mark or whatever, 3000 PV mark, whatever it is on our goal sheet this month, but changing that, it's making that shift to what I like to call coordinator thinking, those higher ranks after senior director. When we have a car payment, then the next rank is coordinator. And Barbara Lagoni always taught me to adopt coordinator thinking, because every rank after that has the word coordinator in it. Did you know that? So
Oh.
every kind of, so she's, it talks about adopting coordinator thinking, because then we can have those higher ranks still. And that's exactly what you're saying, Karen, is when it stops being about yourself and you're looking at your own thing, you start looking at the team downline from you. You work upline with what you need, and then you share downline, and always drawing those people on and, you know, helping them to yearn for the vast and endless sea, like you said. So that's what's happening with you. It's a beautiful thing to see with you, Karen, really.
aw, thanks, Pam.
Mhm.
So here's an example of what your circles could look like. And this happens to be my team. And I want to encourage you to start drawing these circles. Look at the dream plan, see how many legs you need. It'll spell everything out for you. And if any of the dream plan does seem confusing to you, just contact your upline. Once I really understood the dream plan, I moved forward quicker, because it's just like knowledge is power. Like, then I know where I'm going. I know what I need. But if any of it seems vague, you're going to stay in the same place. So this is an outline. These people's names are absolutely precious to me. They are dear, dear, dear friends. Some of them I've known for years, and some of them I just met, you know, a couple of years ago. So it's so cool how we can be brought together by a similar vision, what we were talking about tonight. So for an executive coordinator, you have to have at least 3 first levels. And then there's OV requirements as well, which means organizational volume. And for the executive coordinator, that's 20,000 OV. And so I loved what you said, Karen, before about maybe you can't see master coordinator yet. Maybe that seems too far ahead. And for me personally, I did like to do, like, when I looked at that dream plan, what was a stretch for me? And at different points in my Shackley journey, it's been different place marker, different ranks that would be a stretch. I mean, if you would have asked me 4 years ago, you know, do you think executive coordinator? I said, you know what, that's a little much. How about senior coordinator? You know, I'm going to just do that, and that's okay. Just make sure it's a stretch. We want it to be something that you're going to reach for, that's going to motivate you. So it doesn't have to scare you, terrify you to death, but it does need to stretch you and make you feel uncomfortable. It's getting out of that comfort zone. So I want you to envision how big your organization can be. And then when you start having these leaders underneath you, and they have leaders, you can see Francine has Susan and Carly, then just know that one of our roles is to be a mentor, an encourager, an empowerer, like Karen described, to all of our organizations. It's just not like we just have communication with the first 3 or the first levels. We want to be able to do that with all the people in our organization. And of course, there's some personality things with that, but you're growing as a leader, you're going to be able to navigate that. Who likes to be communicated with certain, you know, ways, whether it's phone call or text or whatever. But we can do that. And it's so nice for them to know we work as a team. You know, Carly knows that she can call me anytime, even though I'm not her first level upline. And so it's just a beautiful way to be able to do that.
And can I jump in, Becky?
Yep.
Because I think that's so powerful. I think at this point in your business, sometimes this feels overwhelming. Like, what do I have to offer them? I'm new myself. You're not alone. This is the role of your team and your upline. So allow them to show you how to lead. They have to know how to do it because they got you there. So yes, tap into those resources. Do not think you've got to do this alone. And really, you do need to lean on your uplines for help, especially in the beginning stages.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And working in depth is so important, because you'll make connections. Sometimes you'll connect better with a 3rd and 4th and 5th level person than you do with the 1st or 2nd level person. So as a leader, I never get real caught up in who's under who, because everyone's under someone, right? Because we all got in under somebody, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really think always about who's under who and what's. If you're on a team, you're allowed to ask a question, and you're allowed to raise your hand and reach up and say, help me, and she didn't help me, but can you help me? And keep shopping around amongst the team and until you find what you need, because we're all here to help. And once we help you get what you need, all the downlines, then we eventually get what we need, right? I say when the tide comes in, all ships rise, right? Provided your ship is in the water. So we got to stay in the water. So when the tide comes in, we're all rising. So we really love that working together part, that we're not competing with each other like in traditional business models. I came from the business world. And if somebody had a great idea, there's no way they were going to share it with me.
Right.
And that's the one thing that I love about this business, is that we don't want to recreate the wheel all the time. You know, we're all on the same mission together. So it's just a beautiful place to be.
Absolutely. So Pam just talked about building in depth, and this actually applies to your customers, to your distributors, and to your business leaders. The dream plan is going to pay you whether you put people all underneath you like a clothesline, or if you have a visual picture of roots where there's so-and-so referred so-and-so, or Susie has now Kathy underneath her as a business leader. But I'm going to tell you, the dream plan is set up to benefit building in depth more. You're going to move quicker up the rank ladder, and you're going to have more benefits when you build in depth. And so when you're thinking about this, when you look on your report section in, actually it's probably in the classic view, but in the report section in the member center, there's a little arrow for each person. And I think if they're first level to you, like customers, they're red or something. I've set goals for myself that I want as many people possible to have at least one referral under their name. And sometimes I've been able to go like 6 levels deep, like this person referred this person, who referred this person, who referred, you know, that kind of thing. And we have so much power in this gift to be able to share with other people, and our customers know other people that might want this for products or for the business. So we're thinking about building in depth with customers. Then we're thinking about building in depth with distributors. You know, we want to work with people that are not only my distributors, but then Francine's distributors and Carly's distributors. And the same thing goes with these business leaders then. It's the same thing. We're working with all the people all the way down, just like what Pam said. It doesn't really matter where they are. You're going to work with them. You're going to be an encourager to them. You're going to help them on a 3-way call or get on a Zoom with them. But I hope that those 2 pictures can kind of show you visually. You can see on the roots picture how many kind of roots are coming down, but then think about how much stronger the tree is when those roots grow. And that's exactly how your business is. The more you build in depth, the stronger your team is, and then that's how you grow up the dream plan too.
That's right. So I used to think about the more sponsoring and the more PV I could have and the more orders I could get every month, and the better, you know, the bigger the number was, the better I was doing in my business. And it really wasn't the way. I was building a clothesline for a long, long time, which is probably why I stayed at senior coordinator for 8 years of my 20 years in Shackley. So I wasn't building in depth. So, but yes, for sure, you want to maximize the dream plan, and Shackley pays you to break out leaders, and that's a good thing. Okay, so one of my favorite parts of this business is coaching circles, and it's a concept that was brought to me several years ago, and I've been involved in them for a long time. And my current coaching circle has been going on for probably 3 years now, and it's a great way to stay connected with others and to bounce ideas off of and stay in the game. So typically everyone in the group is shooting for the same level in Shackley in your coaching circle. So you might have people who are working toward director. You might have the group can be from 4 to 6 members. We might help you put together, if you're in your early 40s, for example, and you're working toward director, we might find that Karen has one of those people, and that Becky has 2, and Barb Lagoni has another one, and we might join you up together regardless of where you live. It doesn't matter, because here we say most people meet on Zoom or on conference calls, so we can do this over the phone and in Zoom formats like this. Some groups, as I said, meet ongoing for years on end if it's working. Other groups meet for a period of 3 months or 6 months, and then they reevaluate. Is this working for us? Are we a good fit? Am I motivated? I'm a firecracker and I just went up 3 ranks in the past 90 days. I got to get out of this group because this isn't working for me. They're talking about how to get to 2,000 and I'm on 10,000 with 4 first levels, and oh my gosh, you know, it's just not a fit. So we can continually evolve your coaching circles, and they are great. They create ownership in your business, and they keep you accountable I like to know that every Tuesday morning at 8:30, I know I have my accountability call goals and we're working on things. If I haven't done my job in the past couple of days, boy, I get on it, because Tuesday morning I am not going to call up and be on my coaching circle and not have my stuff done, because that is not good. So personal development and things we talk about, I've had instances where we've shared books together and done book reviews and as part of our coaching circle afterwards. They can be brief. You know, everybody can share for 5 minutes. It can be a 15 to 20-minute call. It can be an hour call. It's kind of whatever. And they change, I think, through the season. And I love them because I'm involved with other women who are in other teams. None of us are in the same downline at all. So we have a great cross-pollination of ideas. And it's so fun to learn what's working for other teams and what other people are hearing and who else is connected to who else, because they all have friends on other teams. And so that brings all that right into what we have that we can share with each other. And as we said here, your upline can help you find a group if you're interested, or even the Shaklee Global Conference, the convention, is a great place to meet peers. And we often meet people that we're connected with and that are from across the country, and we say, hey, do you want to join our coaching circle? We're looking for one more person. In fact, I have a gal who I met because we had the same green dress on that picture you saw before, that night of wearing the green dresses. I met another leader from Florida, and we are really good friends now because we connected at the conference because we happen to have the same exact dress on. So I let her in my circles.
I love
anyway,
it.
these are great things. So you're hearing from me tonight, this community and a sense of team and friendships is a big deal, and my team, and I think in a lot of them, I say that this is one of the intangibles, and I think it's a way we get paid that's not on the dream plan. It's not part of it, and it's, for me, the intangibles are some of the greatest benefits of this business opportunity. So we can stay connected with our people in many ways, and a Facebook team page is a really good way to stay connected with your leaders. Many of you may have customer pages for your Shaklee members to find out about special promotions and things that you're doing, but a Facebook team page is great. Also, Zoom team meetings. I know many people have a weekly meeting or a monthly meeting on Zoom, so we can see each other here. If we're around the country or around the world, we can be together on this Zoom format. Marco Polo is an app for your phone. It's an audio video app, and I use that almost daily to stay up with. Certain people like Marco Polo, other people don't. It's got to be something you try on, and if you like it, you can use it. Voxer is also one of those type of app things that's just audio. There's no video there, so if you don't like to be seen, you might want to opt for Voxer. And it's almost like a recorded voice message. It's not live, so you can listen to them when it's convenient, but sometimes it's easier to just say something rather than get in there and type all the details. You can just kind of roll it out of your mouth, and it's better. We're able, as our teams work together to plan events and have our downlines. As a leader, we want to help our downlines to want to host events without us there, right? In the beginning, we like to teach them and show them, and my uplines told me you have to hear things 8 times before you can repeat them yourselves. So we want to walk alongside our leaders until they are comfortable to be pushed out of the nest a little bit and do it on their own. But nothing's more refreshing and rewarding as a leader to see your downlines hosting events, doing it without you, pulling it off, presenting, getting all their stuff ready and calling you afterwards and saying, that was a great meeting. And that's just one of the most beautiful things about this company is the fruits of your labor when they stand up and they do it themselves. And that just warms my heart. So social gatherings for business owners and for their spouses, always include the spouses if we can. More and more, this business is becoming more, men getting involved in supporting that. So I like to have even bonfires and things like that are not business related, but just with our team together. Team retreats with our uplines. And I like the fact that you can kind of go up a few rungs of upline leaders. I know Katie Odom had an event, had a retreat with some of her downlines at Barbara Goni's home in Indiana, and they went there just for an overnight. I think it was a little over 24 hours that they were together, and a lot of great things happened on that team retreat. So you don't do those too often. Those are special things. Just another idea. Recognition is real important. Sending cards, handwritten notes are so big from public speaking events for your downlines, to rank advancements, to having their best month ever, to just showing up on training, or just, being in it. Really great to recognize our people. Many newsletter and sometimes in the mail, and snail mail, quarterly or monthly, on email. However, they want to stay connected with their team through newsletters and give recognition there. I know Barb Lagoni does a really nice leadership newsletter. We love that. We want you to encourage you as a leader to be creative, to make your own style as you see it for you. You're the leader. If you're local, now I have teenage kids who aren't ready for the business yet, but the 20-year-olds are, but the teens are avid babysitters for the downlines, and those who live local to me often will take advantage of that. I offer free babysitting. My kids, I send them out to the downlines to babysit, and you can do a meeting. You don't have a babysitter? That's not an excuse. I'll give you a babysitter.
Exactly.
So they love that too. So I have babysitter will travel. I do take soup over to my downlines, to my families. I've shown up on doorsteps with different things, with flowers on Mother's Day for those who didn't make the trip and we're in Hawaii. We were feeling this day weekend, I'm going to go buy hanging baskets for all the leaders and bring them to their houses. So I did that. So anyway, and if you're not local, you can certainly do things in the mail and gift cards and treats for dinners out, and just continually loving on the people. And as your team grows, and it's crazy, like the first slide was of the rabbits multiplying. I mean, that's what happened for my team, and they got big really super fast, and these girls were putting bricks down like crazy. And I wasn't as actively involved in that. Remember, I was sitting at senior coordinator for 8 years, I told you. So when I came out of the woods and I saw all these people, I was like, holy Moses, like all these bricks were going up, and all I could do was just grab some mortar and slap it on the bricks so they would stay together. And that's been my role for a lot of my downlines. And I just love the opportunity that even doing things like this, babysitting and cooking and, loving on the team is an important part, because if you don't have that, your team can crumble. So when you start seeing bricks being put down, make sure you reach for the mortar and spread it in there so you can help hold that together. That is really quintessentially the role of a good leader.
So good.
I think that's it.
So something we want to touch on is when you move into a leadership role, oftentimes there's a misconception that as a leader, you are actually acting as a manager. And I want you to think of the manager at the local Chili's or Ruby Tuesday, and did they go out of business? TGI Friday. But when you think about a restaurant manager, or manager really anywhere, their role is to tell you what to do and to make sure things go off without a hitch. But that's pretty much the extent of it. Usually they do not motivate, inspire, encourage, or even know where they're headed. And that is the difference between a manager and a leader. There is going to be some managing you need to do as a leader, for sure. But you want to make sure that you're educating your team, you're inspiring your team, and you're empowering your team. And again, those are things that managers do not do. Another thing a leader does is he or she earns respect from their team. And I cannot reiterate this enough, that earning the respect of your downlines is everything. So if you go back to any of you who did wait tables at TGI Fridays, it was rare if you had a loving, adoring respect for your manager, right? Because they weren't invested in who you were. They weren't seeking out your goals above their own. They weren't inspirational. So these are all things that you want to make sure you are seeking in your leadership style. So make sure that you're motivating them to follow you. And really, it's trust that does that. So you need to show up. You need to show up. If you say you're going to be somewhere, or you receive a text message and you're not replying to it, or they're counting on you, for something, you have to show up. Otherwise, you're going to break trust with them. Make sure you're modeling those desired behaviors and habits that you would want to see in them. Are you doing them yourself? So it's very easy to quickly go to, oh, I wish so-and-so would do more of this. Well, slow down and stop and think, am I doing it myself, right? That's a lot to ask. So you've got to hold yourself accountable in that field. And then, of course, displaying that teachable spirit that we talked about. If you are teachable, you are going to have the respect of your downlines, because you are not coming across as someone who's arrogant or acts as if they have it all together, or even they're claiming they have it all together and really they're miserably falling apart. As long as you're teachable, that shows humility, and it models, again, for them to be teachable. And that is what's going to lead to growth. Okay, let's go back to that teaching. Make sure, and I touched on this briefly, you are teaching your downlines. I've run into people who will say, I just don't get it. Why won't they hit director? My downline is stuck at, 1,000. I mean, I did it. Why can't they? And that's pretty much where it ends. And I always push back with the question of, well, what have you done to lead them there? How are you teaching them to get there? What in your learning process are you guiding them through? And those are the questions we've got to start to ask ourselves. We can't just expect someone to get there, because the truth is someone walked that path with us, or some people, right? So we've got to be sensitive to that and make sure we're not just expecting them to produce, but rather we're teaching them and allowing them to learn. And everyone learns at a different pace and in a different style. The teaching model that I used in my classroom regularly was I do, we do, you do. So in the beginning, when someone is new to your team, it's going to be a lot of I do. Okay, you watch me, see how I do this, ask questions. We can give each other feedback afterwards. But then eventually, I want you to do this with me. So again, if we use an event as an example, or presenting the business, now we're going to do this together. So let's sit down, let's come up with a plan of how we're going to execute it, and then let's go into it together. We each can have our roles, and then let's process it afterwards. And then you're going to eventually move on to you do. Okay, you were amazing. Do you realize how successful you were that last time we presented the business opportunity? Now it's your turn. And I want you to call me afterwards and let me know how awesome it was. Now, when you see I do, we do, you do, it doesn't mean you do it one time of each of those. For some people, you might have to do the I do 50 times. For some, it might be 3. And then you move on to the we do. This is where, as a leader, you have that discernment and that experience to be able to know when they're ready for the next step. But you cannot just jump to the you do. That's not leading someone. So that's really important to keep in mind. And then you have to make sure you are motivating, but that's not cutting it. You've got to make sure you inspire. Be inspirational. It's really the way you lead and the way you live your life that's going to inspire your teammates to do the same. So live a life that's worth following.
Wow. Like, we could end it right there, Karen. That's so good.
But there's more.
There is a couple slides more. But I do love everything you've shared here, because it is such an important distinction. And one thing that I kept thinking when you were talking about a teachable spirit is just really showing we are all lifelong learners. We are all doing this for the rest of our life, or learning for the rest of our life. So here's a few John Maxwell quotes that we just thought really encapsulated what we're trying to get across tonight. Anyone can steer a ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. So think about that vision that Karen so beautifully talked about. True leadership always begins with the inner person. Remember, we talked about that personal development. You have to believe in yourself. You have to monitor your self-talk. You got to repeat that so that your mind starts to change, and therefore your behavior starts to change. And then leadership is not a position about titles. Positions is not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. It is about a life influencing another. And that's what we're talking about tonight, that influence. So we really want you to look at a coordinator organization. If you're a brand new director or close to that, or even if you're a distributor at some level, really think about that coordinator level, which means you have 2 first level directors. And this is kind of an action step for you to create those goals. Begin a leadership library. And just the next slide, I'm going to show you, we're going to have, when you're able to view this on archive, which will be at betterfuturestartstoday.com, and then whatever your team word is, your person's word, to get into that. But all of these PowerPoints are stored there, and so you'll have these resources available to you. Look at creating that 3,000 PGV plan. Remember, Karen talked about there's a lot of keys that opens up a lot of doors to be at 3,000 for the new directors conference. And then if you have a first level also, then that opens up car payments. So really look at that 3,000, and plus your check is better. And then fill in as many names. These circles are going to be more powerful to you if you put in real people's names. And let's say that maybe you haven't talked to anybody about the business yet. Then I want you to put in names of people you would like to talk to. Like, if I could choose anybody to do my business with, it would be Susan and Kathy. and put those in, and then make time to talk to Susan and Kathy and share your vision with them. And you know what? You were the first two people I thought of when I thought of who I wanted to put on my team. And I'd love to tell you a little bit about this if I could have you take a look. And then really begin studying this leadership part. It has lots of nuances. I will always be learning about this. There's always things I can learn. So here's just a peek at some of our recommended reading. These are all books that fall into that personal development arena. And we've got things that are about our industry, about network marketing, and then things that are just about leadership in life. And so I love that we have the gamut here. And then we also put down just some popular podcast speakers that you could pull up and listen to that we have found helpful that's on the team. So just a quick teaser, we're going to be sometime in the future going to be looking at a more detailed look of this idea of leadership and coaching. And we're not sure exactly when that's going to happen yet, but we will do that in the future. So you can look forward to that. So anything else, Pam, as we wrap up?
How exciting. No, but I'm ready for the next segment of training for the coordinator thinking. I think
There you go.
good. And so, no, it's been just a joy to update these 8 weeks to director training. We have some older versions of this, but it's amazing to see the technology change, but some of the concepts are still the same. So we love that, and just know the importance of being a leader. And I love what you said, Karen, about modeling, because our team follows you. And if you coast, guess what's going to happen? They're going to do that too. And if you can back burner your business, so will they. And it's going to have to be okay. And so anyway, I love our training team, and Barb Lagoni is not able to be with us today. She's doing some family commitments elsewhere, but we're always happy to step in. She's trained us well, and just want to thank all the leaders who are here for this 8-week segment of Rising to Director. And thank you to Chris Bell for being here every week and recording this stuff for us and putting it on our betterfuturestartstoday.com website so we can share that with the world. And just thank you to you who are here live tonight for making time. And for those who are on our everybody, and we'll be with you again soon on our next training segment. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.